I think what makes someone a great leader is what I like to do is just lead by example. I always tell the crew that anything you do is something I will do myself or I've done 100 times before. Being a leader is about rolling up your sleeves. It's about getting the trenches with your troops. It is about really showing them and being there for them every step of the way. I think that is a good leader. I think it's easy to point finger and tell people what to do, but when you're showing people what to do, I think that's going to be the best form of leadership. You actually roll up your sleeves. You're there on the brainstorming sessions. You're there on the whiteboards, or in this case over Zoom. Always be there for your team. You know, I like to say is we have an open door policy. Literally, my door is always open. If it's not open, it's a glass window. You can see right in my office, and let people come in anytime to mentor them with questions. Be there for problem solving. I think that is really what being a great leader is. You're just constantly being there for your team, letting them know that you're there for them. I think the hardest part about being a leader there is that responsibility and the weight that you have on your shoulders, because you're just not carrying their lives and their career and their financial situation, but it's also their family. And so when you ever have to make tough decisions for the business, for the stockholders or for your investors or for the good of the business, and sometimes you just have to let people go if they're not performing, if there's been a change or pivot in the business. I think having that responsibility on your shoulders could be incredibly difficult. And so when there's times that you have to make tough decisions, I think the toughest decision that you have to make is based on someone's career, and that could be letting somebody go. And so I take that responsibility extremely seriously. One thing that I've learned over years, making sure that you're always your best, is preparation. In anything that you do, you have to prepare. Whether you're going in for a meeting, you're going in for an internal meeting, a sales meeting, knowing who's going to be at the other end of the table, being prepared for the meeting is the best preparation for anything that you do. Being prepared for this conversation is the best thing that you can do. The only times I feel like I have failed, is when I'm not prepared enough. And I always regret that. I don't regret my performance. I regret my preparation for my performance. Finding time in your day, whether that's 5 minutes, an hour, to just kind of think and turn everything off and just be alone in your thoughts. And that could be doing that research, that could be doing that reading, that could be just being alone and being quiet, I think is so important. Because the world is moving so fast around us. And sometimes you get caught up being in the rat race. You get caught up being on that hamster wheel where you're just turning and turning and turning, and you feel like you have to be there and be there. But I think just taking that time to yourself to mentally prepare for your day, for that meeting, for that event, for that conversation is going to work wonders. I think, as you're growing a company, I've been in a really lucky position where I've grown the company from 1 to 2 employees to 220 global employees around the world, and realizing that problems are going to come up throughout the course of any business, especially when the business is growing, and not to sweat those small problems, because the problems that I think I used to really care about and keep me up at night are different than the problems that I have today, and that understand that this is a marathon at the end of the day. Again, about the hamster wheel, sometimes we could just be running in place. And it's not about how fast you can sprint. It's really about your endurance throughout the entire race, about the entire marathon, not how fast you can just sprint, because there's always going to be different goal lines. And the goal line just keeps on moving when you have a business, and realizing that goal line and that finish line just keeps on moving. It keeps on extending, knowing that just sprinting from here to here, knowing that you still have another goal line from here to there, and understanding that it is a marathon at the end of the day. I think that is key advice that someone once told me that I pass on to folks. It's kind of micromanaging, and you realize early on you have to micromanage, because when you have a small company, you're probably the decision maker in a lot of those decisions. and realizing as a company grows, you want to pass on that decision making, pass on that autonomy to the people that you trust to do their job. And you have to trust people to do their job at the end of the day. Let them have that autonomy to make their own mistakes. Make their own mistakes along the way. And that's okay. Realizing if they make a mistake, it's not the end of the company. And having, I think, that foresight, having that maturity, that it's okay to let your leaders make their own mistakes because you want them to learn as well. And I'll say what sweats me today, again, it just comes back to that responsibility of having, your workforce rely on you for the health of the company. And I think that is the most important thing that I think about every day, particularly in a time in a COVID world. 6 months ago, we still don't know what the world is today, but 6-7 months ago, we had no idea what it was. And my biggest pressure that I had was making sure that people have a job every single day, that I did not want to do any company-wide layoffs. And luckily, knock on wood, we haven't had to so far, but I take that responsibility incredibly seriously.